I just wanted to show you guys a couple more quick modifications I've made. I've made a little bit of headway on the issues I've been having with the tank spilling over, and I think I figured a few things out. First is, I'll show you. First is, I lowered my crossover pipe here. So before, the water was going in this top pipe, and I never saw it even half full. And what was happening was, basically this top pipe was almost the same level as the top of the tanks. So the tanks had to be right at full for this thing to start spilling over, and so that gave me pretty much zero freeboard. There was no room for error as far as fluctuation in tank levels. So I went ahead and lowered that down. Just had to cut new holes and shove a new pipe through. And I thank Fish and Worms for making it really obvious to me that you could put in your uniseals both in the same direction, because that made things possible, whereas before it wouldn't have worked the way I did it before. I put the uniseals only on the outside and had to shove the barrels together to make it work, and I was thinking that was the only way to do it, but he showed in his video that you of course can just put one uniseal on the inside, one on the outside, push it together, and yeah, no leaks. I don't know if you can see that right there. No leaks. Anyway, so I did that, and that made a huge difference as far as letting this system flow a lot better, letting the tanks run a little bit lower. It gives me a little more freeboard. And then what I noticed was on my K1 filter here, see, I did just have the cap on the end. That cap's drilled full of holes on the end of it. You can't see them here, but they're all on the end. I just had that cap stuck right there on the end of the pipe. And what was happening was all that K1 was piling up against that very small cross-sectional area and plugging it off. So the water, even though the K1 was rolling and moving around, it was a constant obstruction of the way of the water. So what I've done is now I've created what I would call a slotted sub, because I'm in the oil and gas industry and I'm all the time replacing tubing and wells, and they put a slotted sub on the bottom. Slotted sub, perforated sub, whatever. It's a long, obviously it's a long piece of pipe, and I've just cut slots the whole length of it with my table saw. And what that does effectively, just greatly increases the surface area for the water to flow through. So even if K1 does try to plug off part of it, you've got a lot more of it open. And then in addition, just move the cap to the end, so it's still got that original cross-sectional area. So a lot more cross-sectional area helps helps the water flow from this biofilter tank over into the first sump. So now my sumps are staying a little bit fuller, which is better. Last thing I did just for grams, took an elbow and put it on the end of the new flow pipe here. And that just, what that does is it makes only the very surface of the water can flow into the elbow, so it gives you the most amount of retention time for solids and poo particles to drop out, whereas before, if you imagine this tank was full, any sort of stratified floating debris for 2 inches could find its way into the pipe, whereas now that floating debris has to be right at the surface of the water in order to make it into the soil filter, and that tends to just not happen. I can see little bits of stuff getting sucked in there, but the bulk majority of the heavier stuff is going to fall out before rising up the surface and flowing in. So that should help with solids, or catching, helping the soil filter be as efficient as possible. But the biggest thing, really, I think, was this slotted sub. I think that's the biggest issue that I had. I couldn't figure out, why the pump was outrunning the water flow. I've got huge pipes and flowing at low rates. There's no reason why the piping couldn't keep up. And now I realize the piping was keeping up until this point here. So, yeah, fixed that. It looks like it's working a lot better now. But we've got our valve, our return valve, adjusted a little bit. And I'm going to run in the house and do a couple things. Do a couple more chores, get ready for bed, whatnot, and then I'll come out here and check it again and see what my fluid levels look like. Right now it looks pretty steady, but it could be it could be moving a fraction of an inch in a minute or two, and I wouldn't notice it. So I'll give it a little bit of time to do what it wants to do, and then we'll come back and take it. Alright, so I just made one more quick repair I wanted to show you guys. This was a big problem for me. I mentioned in some of my videos how I was having an issue with spillover, and I couldn't figure out why it was all backing up. Part of these other little modifications I made, my wife made one very keen observation, and that is where this return nipple sticks through the hole cut at the top of the tote, it wasn't actually sticking through the hole. It was lined up kind of cattywampus on it, And I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, whatever, no big deal. You look at the other tanks, it's the same way. It just barely sticks in there. And I cut them short on purpose because I wanted to have enough. I wanted to make sure that the water actually fell and wasn't just pumping right into the tank. I wanted to make sure it fell from the end of the nipple into the water so it was splash, all the noise you can hear now. The problem was this one wasn't quite lined up right, and so water was actually spilling. It was running out here on this top piece of plastic and then spilling over the back of the tote. I thought it was spilling into the tank, but a lot more of it than I realized was actually going over the back of the tote. The problem was I'd come out here during the day and I'd adjust it and say, okay, it's lined up, it's good. But then throughout the course of the day and the night, this pipe vibrates because of the pump, and so it would shift its way out of line and then spill over the back again. So I'd come out in the morning and everything would be spilled out and everything would be back to normal. I couldn't figure out why. So my wife caught it. She saw it spilling. So all we did was stuck a coupler on it. It's a 1-inch pipe. We stuck a coupler on. That's all I had to do, just to give it a little bit extra room so now that coupler sticks through the hole and that pipe can't vibrate out. So the coupler's just wedged on there right now. Should come back and glue it. I just didn't have time to do it right now. Obviously, if I hadn't made a video, I would have had time, but that's fine. I want to share this with y'all so you know. Anyway, I'm going to go through on the other 2 tanks. They're not online right now, so I'm not worried about it, but when I do put them online, I'll make sure I put the coupler on them too so they don't pop out either. Anyway, that's just it for this little bit. I want to give you guys these little tips, these little learnings, and I'll put all these together in one video for now, and then I'll probably I'm sure I'll have more videos in the future about more things I've learned and figured out with this crazy system. Enjoy.